I don't watch bad movies that put fear in me because why? It's a low frequency. I don't hang out with people that are drama. Why? That's a low frequency. I eat prana rich like food, very healthy food. Yes, it's so I can look great, but secondly, it's so I can have a high frequency because we are what we eat. And so there's so many things around frequency. I love talking about this. I'm so obsessed because when you really get it, you're like, wow, there's so many things that come into play with my energy throughout the day. And it's just up to being aware and then going, I'm going to make this shift to have a higher frequency. And again, that's when you are also just a magnet. You just attract people instead of retract people.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. This Thrive State Podcast is a place where I bring thought leaders, experts in the fields of biohacking, longevity, peak performance, and human potential. On today's podcast, I have a very special episode that I recorded for the Thrive State Summit. It stars Emily Ford. If you don't know who she is somebody that came from very humble beginnings, raised by a single mother. She actually began to create a huge network marketing company and made millions at a very, very early age. But she also talks about how traumas that she had earlier on in life had led her down a path where even with all the successes, she felt empty inside. So how do you find you? You know, I could relate with that story because 10 years ago, I was overweight, diabetic, had high blood pressure on prescription medications, running from a story that I wasn't worthy, I wasn't good enough because I was a boat refugee when I came to America. I was constantly being bullied and teased, and then living life through that default mode from fear and survival created disease in my body. And it wasn't until I started to recognize that old programming and made some new choices that I was able to reverse all those conditions. Emily talks about this. She talks about the it factor. The it factor is really the thing that will amplify your brand, amplify who you are as a human being, amplify the energy of you. Because if you could live in that authentic vibration of you, you not only achieve optimal health and peak performance, but that version of you will also bring you everything that you desire in life. What a great way to start off 2025, to have that, to know your it factor. Your it factor comes from all the challenges and struggles you grow through because yes, we learn from them. We become stronger. We become more resilient. So everything in life is happening for you, not to you. I can tell you right now, all the things being cheated out of hundreds of thousands of dollars from a poor hire, poor investments, relationships that initially felt like they weren't right for me. All these things were lessons that I get to learn, that I get to now embody when I teach others. And so, you know, if 2024 was a year of learnings, be grateful. If 2024 was a year of blessings, be grateful. Every moment we get to breathe, we are getting gifts. They're gifts, you know, that come from riches, but gifts that also come in lessons. And there's an abundance of those things. So I want you to realize that. And please enjoy this episode of the Thrive State Podcast with Emily Ford. And welcome back to the Thrive State Summit. And with me now, we have Emily Ford, good friend of mine. I know her through a good friend of mine, Jake Havron. And when I got a chance to know her, I was just thinking that she is going to blow your mind because she has created what an amazing life for herself. So just a quick bio. She's an entrepreneur, business owner, global influencer, and podcast host. She started her entrepreneurial journey 13 years ago with no business background to now running and sustaining, get this, a 9-figure sales organization, as well as speaking to companies and teams globally. She teaches people how to brand themselves and coach them through her mentorship program called The It Factor. She's spoken in some of the world's largest stages and thought leaders like Tony Robbins and taught executive leadership teams on leaders who have it. Forbes featured her in an article titled To Be Successful, Put People First and Business Second, because of the way Emily has built her success through serving others. Emily's transformative method has allowed over 1 million people not just to find their it factor, but also implement it into their personal life to achieve massive influence. Emily, thank you for being on the summit.
I am so blessed to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, you're an amazing entrepreneur, and I know for so many people who are listening to this right now, they might be struggling with stress, struggling to find themselves. Now, you've gotten your success, my God, a 9-figure organization that you're running. Was it by discovering your it factor? How would you describe what the it factor is to others?
Yeah, I first fell into entrepreneurship because I wanted a better life. And I was working multiple jobs, sleeping on a mattress on the floor, struggling to pay my rent, struggling to put gas in the car. And so that's what led me into entrepreneurship. And then when I found a business and a model where there's no limits on my income and I could design my life and all the things, that's when I really discovered, oh my gosh, you need to lean into who God created you to be if you really want to grow this thing. Because I had very limited mindset around my self-worth. I really struggled with finding love or accepting love. I was really hard on myself. So that made me like go all in to learning how to love myself, which in turn helped me build a massive business here today.
That's amazing. You talk about some of those early struggles, and thank you for being so vulnerable. But I find so many people struggle with that. They're finding their own self-worth, their own voice. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think growing up here in America and globally that people are maybe encouraged not to be themselves?
Yeah, I think a lot of it stems from our childhood. In fact, I am really into studying what happens before the age of 18 in our lives. And there's something called the ACE test, and it's all about adverse childhood experiences. And I take people through a series of 10 questions. You can even Google it. And what I find is the higher the number, that is typically the more you have mental health issues, the more you struggle with depression, anxiety, all that stuff. And when I survey and do this in stadiums of people, 1,000 people, I have people stand up if they're a number 1 or higher, which means they've had something happen to them that's traumatic. And every single time, at least 80% of the room rises. And as the number rises, it means the more crap happened to you when you were young. And it's about 50% that half the room is standing for a 4 or higher. Now, the highest number you can be is 10. Now, why I'm sharing all this with you is because if we don't deal with our past stuff, we will never heal. And it starts to come into the areas of our life when we get older. And that insecurity gets louder and louder. And it's all limiting beliefs. It's all things that we believe about ourselves to be true, which are in fact a lie. We believe lies about ourselves, that we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough, all the things. And I have found that when people actually identify what I like to call a stronghold, meaning it's a lie, but they've come into agreement with it, they think it's true. It's now their identity. When you actually realize, oh my gosh, I've been telling myself a lie, and I've told myself this lie every single day. So for me was, I'm an anxious kid. Emily has anxiety. That triggers her to then binge eat, or she can't sleep at night. When I was young, I was told that. And what did I do through high school, through growing into my 20s? I thought I was a girl with anxiety, and I just believed that lie. And that took ownership over me. And so I find when I work with people, talk to people, there's all these lies that are rooted that we gotta get to the root. If we're gardening right now, we literally got to get to the root and pull it out. Otherwise, it's going to take over the entire garden and sabotage our lives. And that comes into relationships, work, mindset, all the things.
Oh, I want to tap into relationships a little bit later because I know it brings certain things up that we don't even recognize. We're talking to people now and you're like, yes, I have an idea that I am wearing a mask. The childhood trauma almost forced me to create this mask for myself in order to feel safe. What would you say going through your process was one of those first things that just allowed you to wake up that, wait a minute, I am living a lie. That is a lie, because I don't think many people can realize that they're swimming potentially in lies that, in their life, that if they don't actually look at their life, that they're actually living for it.
Self-actualization, like taking a minute to examine yourself. And we're all so busy. We're trying to make money, trying to put food on the table. We're trying to build our things. And for me, it actually took a lot of self-sabotaging for me to go, what in the actual F am I doing? Like, I was sabotaging things that I worked hard to create. And I had a moment, it was just this like enough is enough type thing where I'm like, I need to examine what is going on with me. And I realized that there was things that I didn't deal with, and I had a lot of weeds in the garden. And so through self-actualization and honestly just dying to yourself, get over yourself. And you got to almost get mad enough that you're like, I'm going to fight this battle. It's worth fighting. So then with that identification of what the root is, I just started to what I like to call weed and feed. And so nourishing my soul. And we've all heard the things, meditate and pray and this and that, but are you actually doing it? And what if you worked as hard on your soul as you do your company? What would actually happen? And so that has been the whole way that I've been able to flourish and transcend, is because I'm actually looking what I like to call the devil in the face, and I'm doing what I like to call the WPP. So I read the living word. It's something that I love to get. For me, it's with God. I read the word and I can get that wisdom from him. And then the first P is for prayer. So taking all of my worries, all of my troubles, and I pray about it. And so I'm asking for help. I'm asking for courage. I'm asking for healing. If I have a spirit of intimidation, I feel intimidated, or if I feel jealous, or if I feel any negative emotion, I have just learned to pray about it. And then I also meditate and I'm receiving, and that's more of my creative flow and keeps me at peace. And then the second P is for praise, which is listening to high frequency music. For me, it's worship music, which puts me in a high frequency state. And so I do the WPP every single day, no matter where I am. And that just gives me mental fortitude and has really helped me start to heal and really unleash.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast thus far. Now, I wanted to give you a really neat resource that I've been working on for the past year. Are you living with chronic stress, burnout, or the nagging symptoms of anxiety and depression? Do you find yourself battling fatigue or brain fog, or feeling like you're not performing at your best? Well, what I've been working on all of this year is made especially for you. It is an online virtual event called the Thrive State Summit. You can register now for free at thrivestatesummit.com. But what it is this. You get to connect with and learn from 50 world-renowned thought leaders, experts, and some of your favorite celebrities. We've got people like Bruce Lipton, Vishen Lakhiani, Dave Asprey, Dr. Josh Axe, all united with a shared mission to tackle the mental health crisis that is impacting each and every one of us. Now, the Thrive State Summit isn't just another event. It is really my hope that it becomes a catalyst for change, particularly in this fast-paced world. And so what can you expect? You could expect to take home life-changing takeaways from all our experts, activation sessions to be able to bring you into states of calm and relaxation, really all the resources for you to become the best version of yourself. And finally, proceeds from the Thrive State Summit will go to 4 mental health nonprofits, including Rare Impact Fund, the Trevor Project, Good Days, Genius Recoveries. So please, if you invest in yourself, and please share this resource with your friends and family members. It's something I poured my entire heart into this past year, and I know it's going to help so many people. So register now at ThriveStateSummit.com.
Oh, so good. You talk about self-sabotage, and I wonder if you can bring some examples. I know for me, there are many times that I've self-sabotaged. I know I wanted to be in media and entertainment, and I remember one time I was about to be on a radio show, and the night before, I don't know why, I just partied my patooties off, knowing that I was going to be on the radio the next day in front of a national audience. And that just wrecked me. And there are other instances where I'm in a room of people and there's a part of me feels, oh man, I don't belong in this room of people. And I grab a sip of wine and I'm just soothing myself. There's a part of this internal dialogue. These are the moments that you can start to use them. If we start to see what are the limiting beliefs that was creating this thing that's pulling us back. Are there some self-sabotage patterns you saw in yourself? And maybe we could elicit that to people, because people might not know that they're actually sabotaging their life due to these limited ways they view themselves.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's a couple different examples. The first one I would love to give is in the bucket of love. And so I grew up with a single mom, and my dad left her in the hospital when I was born. We had a brother who passed under my dad's watch, and he really wanted me to be a little boy, but clearly I was a little girl. So try understanding and learning this programming when you're little. This is what I found out when I was little. And so what happened was, throughout my career, I've always protected myself, especially from men. And I just didn't want to get hurt. I've already gotten hurt so much through another relationship. And so when I wanted real love, I went to the ocean and I wrote out, here's what I want in a partner and a man. And I wrote out 20 things. And my mentor's like, Emily, 20 is a lot. Just circle the top 5. Okay. Because come on. So I did. And literally I met this man 1 month later. And so we started dating and falling in love and all the things. And what I started to do, though, I started to try to sabotage it. I went to work to literally make it not work. I tried to F it up. Like, how crazy is that? And this is the man of my dreams. He treats me like a queen. He's my best friend. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I literally tried to break up with him 3 times. I tried to hurt him. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? And so this is me just being so honest with you. That's where I really was like, you have weeds that you have not dealt with, Emily. And that's where I really had to go into healing and understand like how I'm really treating men and what my view is of them. And it's just been so amazing. And so that's one. And then another thing would be for me is opportunity in the inbox. Like, instead of acting on it right away, there's still limits that come up for me where I am not taking initiative straight away. And I really had to identify that as well. Like, why are you waiting on opportunity? And I share this just so openly because there's always going to be things we all deal with. But as soon as you can identify it and then start the process of getting over it and building that bridge, that's when we're going to grow. And that's what life is all about, right?
Oh, so good. Oh, I was going to ask you about your relationship with Jake. Jake's a good friend of mine. He's someone who's just as fierce and as powerful and passionate as you are. I'm so glad you found each other. And I have my relationships too. And I have to say that a lot of my old crap started to come up. I always ran from relationships, probably thinking that I was going to get hurt at some point. And I always held a wall up. And so what I maybe want to share with people is that there are going to be things that come up that trigger you, but because they trigger you, it is really allowing you the opportunity to look at yourself and to start noticing some of those old patterns. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that's why you got to pause. It's the power of the pause. And I was running 100 miles per hour and I didn't look at what was happening. I literally have an achiever's mindset, and I just would put more on my plate so I wouldn't have to deal with it. And I think that's what a lot of people do, whether it comes in the form of business or their children. And we just don't get honest with ourselves. And that's what ends up sabotaging us in the long haul. So it's going, okay, here's my really sucky points. And then now, for example, I've hired people that manage a lot of my stuff now. So any bit of me procrastinating, it can't happen because somebody else is dealing. And that's just awareness. And you've got to create that change. Otherwise, there's never going to be growth.
Yeah, it really does start there as awareness. And I'm really hoping this conversation sparks awareness for people. Now, some people might look at you and say, Emily, I see you on keynote stages. I see you doing your podcast. You are radiant. You are confident. That's your it factor.
Yeah.
For people who are listening now who either might be struggling in their career or struggling just to find themselves, to be this confident version of themselves, where do they start? What would be, maybe if you can recall, some of the first steps as you're really trying to remember and reclaim yourself again? Could you share with those people to start building confidence and to start releasing some of that self-doubt?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm obsessed with talking about all things it factor. And so many people, like I heard for so many years, it's you got to have that X factor and that edge. And my thing is, no, you're already it. You're already it. You already have every single thing inside of you. You just have to identify it. You have to access it. You have to embody it, and you have to freaking own it. Mm-hmm. And if we look at all these different people, for an example, if we look at the guys from Duck Dynasty, they freaking have beards. They made a name of themselves with a duck call. They built a whole television show around family values. They owned their it. They didn't change. They didn't shave their beard. If you look at Steve Harvey, man, the guy literally got in trouble in school. He was in the principal's office because he was telling jokes. And look what he does for a living today. You look at Oprah Winfrey, one of my greatest admirations. Like, she was molested as a young girl. What does she spend her whole life doing? Serving other people. If I could go on and on, all these people have a common theme. They own who they are. They lean into who they are. They know what they're good at. They know what they're bad at. And all of us, like you listening to this right now, there's things about you that you don't even recognize that are so freaking amazing that you got to lean in and own that. And so what I love to teach people to do is identify, come into agreement with what is so beautiful about you. And when I got in business over a decade ago, I was in an industry with people 20 years older than me. And I was like, I don't literally don't know how to fit in. I don't talk like this. I don't look like this. It's like a little stale. It's like stale crackers. I can't fit into this. And so what I quickly realized is that if I try to be what I'm not, then I'm going to build something that is so fake and it's going to feel so bad. It's so off. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to lean in and build this the way that I want. And so I started to really identify what makes me unique. What's my style in terms of even how I look, but even how I build things. And I really look at, and I try to teach people to UB. And what this stands for is unleash every day. And so how do you unleash every day? You build confidence by taking action in the thing that you need to take action in that matters most to you for your life and your dreams. Unleashing every day. And then from there, I really teach people that they need to identify what is it that is holding them back. And really, from a business perspective, we look at those things of, is it toxic people around you? Are you hanging out with people that maybe are keeping you small? Maybe it's just a bad relationship. We got to cut those things out straight away. And so I go through this process with people to really help them identify what is it that makes them so freaking unique. And then we go into a whole thing of environment, the law of the environment in terms of even what you consume, because a lot of times we think we're not good enough because we're comparing ourselves to someone we'll never be. And that's why we think we're not good enough. And there's really two fundamental truths. You're knitted together in your mother's womb, and the cellular makeup of you is you're the only one.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. if you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for thrivestatestarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at thrivestatestarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed. And please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
You're like the only one. And that is so exciting that nobody else has that same DNA makeup as you. And then the second point is that our creators laid everything out in our lives, the good, the bad, it's already done. So let's not be a victim to it. Let's learn from it. And let's, as our great friend Tony Robbins says, like, it's happening to you, it's happening for you, not to you. And so these are things I like people to understand and look at, because once you have this identity shift, it's an identity shift. It's not just a behavior change. And a lot of times in the personal development world, people are solely talking about behavior change and not identity change. And when you change your identity, you change your beliefs. And that's where we need to go.
Oh, so good. I wanted to unpack and summarize for some people, because it sounds like we have traumas, different traumas earlier on, and we feel like to keep us safe, we need to put on this mask that is not us. And we go through life that way, which gets us, depressed and anxious and having some of these mental things. And it sounds, which a lot of the other speakers are also saying, it's not really a process of finding who you are. It's remembering who you are. Remembering the gift of you, right? And knowing that the obstacles, the challenges, all the shit has been gifted to you so that we can grow from it, so we can learn from it, so we can go through other people who might be having the same stuff that we used to deal with, but we've done it and we're stronger for that. It sounds like it's really remembering who you are and sharing your gift and knowing that the struggles are really gifted for you so that you could serve more people.
100%. You absolutely nailed it. We're all trying to get somewhere, and it's be here now and you own it now, unleash it now, right? Step into it now. And I know that when you really get to that level where you just love yourself and you just show up and do your thing, that's when we become magnets. That's when we become attraction magnets. And I really try to explain this to people, because I speak to business people, but also creatives and just a whole myriad of different types of personalities. And I'm like, it's not a look. It's not an X factor of you have to be perfectly polished and look this way and sound. No, what makes us so attracted is when somebody owns who they are and you just want to be around them because their frequency is so high and they just bring peace because they know who they are. And that's what life is all about. First of all, they're living in peace, but they actually make other people want to be the same. I truly believe it's so intoxicating when somebody is who they are, even if it comes with swear words or if it comes with a little bit of rough edges or however they're packaged. There's something about it when someone owns it. And that's what makes us so attracted to all the great people that we're attracted to. So why not you? Why can you not be it? Lean in.
You talk about frequency, and man, when I sit and around you and Jake, you guys just exude this frequency, and this frequency of just being the authentic. I always feel like we are born here. We've got the genetic makeup that it's God has given us who we are, and we've got this natural born frequency. And every time we try to step out of it, become something we're not, it's that energy is not there. But when we can remember that and match that, there's this thing called resonance where you just start to pop. Now, I know that there's a keynote you talk about lower vibrational states and maybe feelings of jealousy and things like that, and then maybe how to shift into higher frequencies, like how you exude. So if people find themselves in these lower level frequencies, how would you suggest maybe shifting into something that is more them and more into these higher frequencies?
I love getting into this. Einstein says everything in your life is a result of the frequency that you're on. And when you really identify this, and if you look at something called the emotional guidance scale, it's an upward or it's a downward. And every single day, we're either going up or we're going down. We're usually oscillating between the two. And it's not that people like us don't go downward, because we do. But once you are identifying it and you can go, okay, frequency is low right now, or some people might say vibe is low right now, or attitude is low. I do little things where I catch it and then I got to shift it. So downward spiral, when we get bored in life, like sometimes I'll coach people that are like, I'm just freaking bored. I've done what I've done for over a decade. I need something new. I'm like, you're flatlining, and then now you're going to begin your decline, because boredom is just the start of the low frequency. Feeling fear, low frequency. Feeling jealous, low frequency. Sometimes I'm around women and they have the spirit of jealousy. And I'm like, do you understand? Like, we got to get rid of that spirit, because that's so low. That's why you have resting bitch face. Like, I'm just being real. Like, we got to check your heart so we can, first, you can live a great life, but you can be an attraction magnet, because right now you're not, right? And we look at all these low frequencies that we have, sadness, despair, all of it. They're all down here, and it's low energy, low vibration. But what we really want to do is strive to be in gratitude, in love, the highest emotions possible. So when I shared with you the WPP, that's why we do that. Because when we're giving thanks, when we're praising, it's all high frequency. Because so you can imagine when you have a moment of like, this sucks, lost a team member, someone returned their products, this didn't work out, lost the deal, blah, 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 blah. Someone broke up with me. It's go back to what works and what is going to change your frequency. And so there's that, but then there's also building a life that supports your frequency. And so that's what Jake and I do. And even in terms of our home, like everything is like a showroom. Why? Because I can think better. I don't like clutter. I don't like crap. That's a low frequency. I don't watch bad movies that put fear in me, because why? It's a low frequency. I don't hang out with people that are drama. Why? That's a low frequency. I eat prana rich like food, very healthy food. Yes, it's so I can look great, but secondly, it's so I can have a high frequency, because we are what we eat. And so there's so many things around frequency. I love talking about this. I'm so obsessed, because when you really get it, you're like, wow, there's so many things that come into play with my energy throughout the day. And it's just up to being aware and then going, I'm going to make this shift to have a higher frequency. And again, that's when you are also just a magnet. You just attract people instead of retract people.
Ooh, so good. So good. I want to really conclude here, because as we're really talking about frequency, and I think after this conversation, it's really remembering that the frequency that is you, the authentic you, is what's going to make you feel most alive, and to tap back into that. So, Emily, how do people find out more about your work and what you do?
Yeah, come hang out. You can listen to my podcast. It's called The It Factor Show. So iTunes, anywhere you can find it, YouTube. And then meetemily4.com. You can see what I'm all about. And then, of course, Instagram. I love Instagram. Hit me up there at It's Emily, ITSEMILY.
Oh, beautiful. Emily, thank you so much for your wisdom, your energy, your frequency, and thank you for sharing your wisdom here today at the Thrive State Summit.
I hope you enjoy that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breath work, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential, so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How do you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.